wrestling's living legend, and coming to you straight from Larry Land. And Mr. Lee Oliver, I guess we have a special request from you, a couple questions. One's very interesting that was kind of a big secret. Not too many people knew about it, and I'll tell you about it with the Monday Night Wars and with the little TNA fun I had. But the Monday Night Wars, it was the hottest, biggest thing with an 11 rating that pro wrestling ever seen. It was uh, it was a thrill to be there doing the commentating, and then when the New World Order started, I was involved with the upper echelon and did a lot of changes. I'm the one that kind of had things happen the way they happened at the beginning, and wound up with me and Bischoff and me and Scott Hall. And Eric did a great job. I was surprised, but the fact of the two pay-per-views that did the biggest buy rate ever in the history of WCW was when I wrestled Eric Bischoff and then wrestled Scott Hall. So I was very proud of myself, and it was a good ending. Um, During the Monday Night Wars, because I was on Nitro, and I never got to see any of the WWE stuff because it was all going on at the same time. So I had no idea what they were doing. I just knew that we were hotter than hell, and it was going great. And forever a part of history will be the Wrestle Wars of Monday night. The ending, though, was kind of a sad ending, and this is the big secret that really no one in WCW knew. The company kept it away from the WCW, subsidiary of Turner Broadcasting. And here was the big secret. Turner sold out to Time Warner. And this was a year before WCW was taken off the air. But they didn't want anybody to know that WCW was going to be canceled because Time Warner, the idiots who had no knowledge of television programming, they didn't want wrestling on TV. They didn't want sports on. They didn't want basketball. They didn't want the Braves on. And of course, if you watch TBS for the last 20 years, all you see is reruns of Friends and Seinfeld. So they messed up the whole TV end of it. But nobody in WCW knew that within a year, the show was going to be canceled. The only reason it kept going for the last year was because they had contracts they had to fulfill with cable companies for pay-per-views and syndicated TV markets and oversee TV and that stuff. And I found out because I was a friend of a young lady, very nice, and she had a job with WCW, even though she was with TBS, because her dad was one of the TBS super big shots. I can't remember his name. But so she had a job, and we were friendly basis. We talked, and I was one of the few guys who knew that WCW was going to get canceled. So it was kind of a weird thing, and I prepared for the future. I'll tell you how. But what happened immediately after I heard that was Eric Bischoff was gone. He wasn't the executive producer anymore. Me and Bobby Heenan's contracts ran out, and those were the contracts with the other guys from the 90s where Ted Turner was giving money away like he was printing it in the basement, big contracts. It was a great 10 years in broadcasting. But a year before that, me and Bobby were done, and WCW was still going, but it was now run by an accountant whose job it was to not spend any money or give any money away. That's why Eric was gone, and me, Bobby, and some other people. They didn't renew the contract, so we left. And then the accountant came to me one day and said, "Hey, I got something to tell you. I stole the writer from Vince. So I'm going to bring this writer in." And I said, "Who are you talking about?" He goes, "Oh, I got this guy, Vince Russo. And guess what? He wasn't even under contract." And I said, "Of course he wasn't under contract. He's a nobody. He don't mean anything. Vince don't care if he's there or not." Anyway, to make a long story short, when I saw what was going on, and now you got some guy, Russo, who knows nothing about wrestling, used to sell CDs on Long Island. That was his background, working for mom and dad selling CDs. Anyway, when me and Bobby's contract were up and I was gone, there was still about a year left to go of WCW. But it turned to crap. It went downhill so fast. I was heartbroken at the sad death WCW had. And I refused to watch. I couldn't watch. So I don't know what happened the last year, other than stupid things I'd hear. I hear something like they had the guy that was the big star, Goldberg. Goldberg was over, and as the people were chanting Goldberg, who was the heavyweight champion of the world, the idiot writer Vince Russo. I mean, it was a complete stab in the back of hundreds of people that worked their butts off for 10 years that made WCW and the New World Order the biggest thing the business might ever see. So I really don't know what happened the last year because I didn't watch. I couldn't take it. It was that horrible. But what I did do, because I was like 51 years old at this time, was I sold my house in Atlanta, moved to Orlando because I wanted to play pro golf. I signed up for the senior mini tours, played a few, and didn't do bad. And then I tried some tryouts for the PGA senior tour and found out I was 3 strokes, not good enough to make any money really. So it was a it was a dream that was a little out of my reach. I started too late. And then I wound up in Orlando, and TNA happened to wind up in Orlando shooting TV at Universal. And to be honest with you, I wasn't there long. They asked me if I'd want to, be there and be a general manager. And that was fun for me because I lived right by the place. Plus, I got all the rides for free. I must have rode those big rides, 50 times a piece, and take people with me and grandkids. And so I had a great time. And the thing with Raven, to be honest with you, I might have a senior moment. I really don't know the whole story, but I agreed to do something with him with the hair thing because my hair, I still got some anyway, but it's thin hair, thin, long, it gets tangly, and I never had the guts to cut it really short. So I did that thing just to see what I would look like if my head was buzzed. And let me tell you, I did not look good as a bald guy. Some guys had a good head for it. Austin looked good. Goldberg looked good. I didn't have a head. I didn't have a head for being bald. But it was a fun time, and I'm still in Orlando, living happily ever after in Larryland, and was proud to finish up my big wrestling career in the New World Order at the end of Nitro. But the last year, I was glad I was gone. It died a sorry death. And when I was in the UK, I enjoyed it. I saw the Crown Jewels and some castles and all the night stuff and Big Ben. The only thing I wanted to see I couldn't get to was Stonehenge. We didn't have the time, but if I ever go back, I will be at Stonehenge checking it out. But that's a story on WCW and the big secret that no one knew was getting canceled. And that's what happened at the very end of a really best wrestling ever. Sad death. And my hair grew back, it's still there, and I look like I'm 40. Mr. Oliver, Lee, baby, I hope this answered your questions and you have a great time. Hope everything works out good and the world gets back to normal and we all live happily ever after and all our dreams come true. So from Larryland, thanks for the request and all the best.